All right, everybody. Here we are. We are here on a Thursday night. It is July 8th, 2021. And what?
It's episode 20, Joe.
I was going to get there, John. You just go. John's whispering. He's like, it's episode 20. I'm like, I know what episode it is. It's episode 20, guys. We are a fifth of the way to number 100. So we have something special in store for you today. We are going to move away from the Legend series for an episode, and we are going to go back to the roots, and we are going to talk about some preseason hot takes. We've been off of that train for a little while. We're going to hop back on it. We got some raving John reviews from the match that happened between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and some interesting quotes that Mr. Rodgers had to say in Tuesday's golf event. Then we have a little spicy take. John's going to give his review of the first episode of The League for everybody here, which we made him watch for the podcast tonight. And then we are going to talk about a couple of different scenarios here in the NFL for the month of June, for the rest of the month of July and potentially August. We're going to go over some potential cut candidates in the NFL that may be cut during training camp. We also are going to go over some training camp battles that John and I are looking forward to, and ones that you may be interested in come fantasy football season. And then we're also going to talk about a couple of players that we like to take that jump from average to star. Much like Lamar Jackson from year 1 to year 2, much like Josh Allen from year 2 to year 3 did this past year. I think it's a little bit interesting because there are definitely guys that we're looking at this year who can take that leap, and we're going to tell you why they're going to take that leap. It's episode 20. It's Perfect Spiral Podcast. It's John McCarthy. It's Joe Miglio. Everybody's here, ready to go. So let's roll. PSP.
You play to win the game.
Touchdown! Can't wait.
All right, Johnny, how are we doing? He's got a glowing smile on his face, folks.
I feel like I always have a smile after the intro because you just get me so hyped up for it.
Hey, listen, that's what I'm here to do. One of us is the talker. The other one provides all the information. That's you, my friend.
So Joe mentioned that I'm going to give my review of the first episode of The League. We got Wendy's.
You did.
I got 10 spicy nuggets, 10 regular nuggets, always cheese sauce with ketchup.
I've never done that before.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm doing it since I was a kid, and I'm just like hooked on it. That show is fun. And for somebody who's like a fantasy football freak like I am, to never have seen that show, like immediately I felt connected to the show. Before we started, you were like, that guy is you. And we're watching it. I'm like, holy shit, that is me.
Mm-hmm. Listen, we're going to get a full in-depth review in a couple of minutes. But I just want to welcome everybody here to episode 20 of the Perfect Spiral Podcast. My name is Joe Miglio. I am your co-host, along with John McCarthy. Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know what McCarthy is.
That's my alter ego.
Alter ego? Mine's Scott Muglio.
It is.
Mine is Scott.
Is Scott Muglio coming back this year?
He may come back. Scott Muglio writes for the...
Not the League Tribune?
Yeah, that's something like that every week. But we got some good stuff coming up here. So... John and I were talking the other day, and we were discussing how we wanted to approach the defensive lineman for the Legend series and what guys we were going to talk about and who was going to be included and this and that. And John said to me, you know what, Joe, why don't we switch it up this week? It's episode 20, right? To celebrate our 20th episode, why don't we just go back and talk some regular football for the episode? And I think that was a great idea. I think that was a really good way for us to kind of thank all of our fans who have shown out for these past couple of months. We're already 3 months in, John. It's been since we started in March, and we've gone almost 4 months in, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
But we love what we're doing. We're having a blast between the article that we had and all the downloads that we've had. We've just been great. Speaking of downloads, please don't forget to subscribe, like, review, download, rate 5 stars, anything you could do to the Perfect Spiral Podcast on any platform you listen to, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast, Buzzsprout. Make sure you follow us and like us and hit us up. We're also on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on a bunch of other stuff. So make sure that you are getting to know us because we want to get to know you. Now, we got some interesting things. We got some interesting nuggets today. But John has asked me if he could break down the event that was on Tuesday, which is probably the biggest sports event, over the past couple of weeks outside of the NBA Finals, which is The Match.
The Match.
Where Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady were defeated by Bryson DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers.
So The Match is a fun thing because although everybody's mic'd up, right? So you hear all the trash talk with Brady, Rodgers, Phil, Bryson. And usually Tiger Woods is involved in this, but unfortunately Tiger Woods was in that horrific accident. Wish him a speedy recovery. But it's just fun. They do it for charity. It's a nice show. People like to watch it, It's not like super uber competitive. It's not like a major tournament, but it's just fun, But I think it was a big deal because Ernie, Chuck, all those guys over at TNT, they do a great job of what they do, and they don't shy away from the tough questions. And one of the main questions was they asked... First, before we get to that, Joe, I just want to mention one of the things Aaron Rodgers said this week.
Sure.
He said that he's taken this offseason to focus on his mental health. And that, I think, is a big deal. And I think that's an amazing thing that he said that because I feel like a lot of these players, a lot of people in the spotlight like that should put more of an emphasis on their mental health.
Absolutely, I agree.
So good for Aaron Rodgers for saying that, and hopefully more people follow his lead. But on the football side of things, they asked him if he is going to be the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers next year. To which he was very cagey in his response. He was basically like, I don't know, I guess we'll see. And they were like, well, what about, for opening day? I don't know, I guess we'll see. Like, he was very cagey. He didn't want to talk about it. And there was also a report that came out that his market there's really not much of a market for Aaron Rodgers.
I don't believe that for a minute. That's garbage. How is that not a market for Aaron Rodgers?
Joe, realistically, though?
Realistically, how is there not a market for Aaron Rodgers?
I think there is one team. I don't think there's numerous teams.
Come on, how? How?
Because if you look at the situations at quarterback,
The situation at quarterback. Come on. You telling me if Aaron Rodgers was available that, Nick Sirianni wouldn't call up and say, hey, man, what's it going to take to get Aaron Rodgers to Philadelphia? Come on.
Listen, we could say that, but as far as true contenders go, like teams that are really willing to make that offer, I don't see many teams doing it.
I think you're crazy. Personally.
Like Denver, Denver seems like it's their destiny to get Aaron Rodgers. But what's funny is that this is going to go into now training camp, right?
He said he wasn't playing. It's not like he's butting anytime soon. He's not like he's caving.
Yeah, so he's really gonna really do this. So is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's another story, but I think it's funny his response because I feel a lot of people like aggregators, including us, we're aggregating it, are making a big deal out of him saying, I don't know. But at the same time, what if we just don't see him play this year? Seriously.
I think that's crazy. I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
I do. I really think he's going to play. Where he's going to play, I'm not 100% sure, but he's going to play.
Do you think he suits up week 1 for Green Bay?
Yes.
I'm starting to think that too.
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that I think, you know what? I don't know. I think he does. I think he loves the game too much.
I think he does too.
To sit out a little, even though he's threatened retirement, I think he loves the game too much to sit out. I really, really do.
Yeah.
He's got nothing to prove, that's for sure.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they still can compete in the NFC. So it's kind of like... It's weird, but I'm with you. I do think that he does suit up week 1 for Green Bay.
I absolutely think, and I don't really think it's. I think he's going to try. I think he's going to try to facilitate his own trade. I really do. I think he's going to try to tell the Packers, "Hey, this is what I know you guys could get from me. You're not going to do much better than this." I still think his destiny is like a team like in the AFC. I still think, you know what though? There's a team in the NFC I think could come out of nowhere that really wants him. That could
do you have a team, or you think?
No, I think the Saints really could pull the trigger on this.
That would be incredible.
Think about where they are, think about where they were, and think about how much better that they could be, and how much they could extend that window. And they could trade Aaron Rodgers for Taysom Hill, and you think that the Saints wouldn't want to get out under that contract?
Oh no, they wouldn't.
Come on now.
Want to get out
of course
of that contract.
They would.
That contract's structured in such a way where they can get out of it. You know?
So I think a team like the Saints, obviously we've mentioned the Raiders at nauseum. We've mentioned the Broncos at nauseum. I still think those two destinations are very popular. But it's going to take a while. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. I think it's going to take a while. I think it's going to last for a while. I think the Packers are still going to try to get him in there. They don't want, as much as they like Jordan Love, they drafted him in the first round, they do not want him to start this year.
Are you hearing what's going on with him at a training camp?
I am not, no.
Oh my gosh, he looks atrocious.
Really?
They're saying he looks terrible. Because, I mean, he still needs time. I don't think he's anywhere near ready.
He sat for a whole year. How could he not be ready?
There was no preseason last year. I mean, we're just talking training camp. I mean, half the games last year, he didn't even suit up.
Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years behind Brett Favre.
Yeah.
And when he came in, he was a superstar. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year and came in after Alex Smith left, and he was a superstar. I mean, if you're not ready after a year, what are we talking about? In today's NFL, guys start on the fly. Trevor Lawrence is going to start week 1. Zach Wilson's going to start week 1. Those guys, they don't have time. They're going to start week 1. Justin Fields may start week 1.
Yeah.
May. I don't know. We'll see.
I think part of the problem, though, with this show is that they drafted him into an unorthodox situation. You had a quarterback who you thought was out of his window. Turns out he's still very much in his prime. I mean, we're talking about the reigning MVP. Got through 46 touchdowns.
It's
2 back-to-back NFC championship games. You know? Like, we're not talking about someone at the end of their rope.
No, but how many years does he have left?
At least 3.
At least 3.
At least 3.
Do you think Denver's a quarterback away?
Denver is 100% a quarterback away.
From being a complete, legitimate title contender?
Yes, because, and I'll give you that. I'll give you why I think so. I think Denver's situation is very similar to Tampa Bay's situation pre-Tom Brady.
Really?
Yes, because when you look at that Tampa Bay team, right? Now, looking back, can't we say that Tampa Bay was ready? That Tampa Bay was a quarterback away?
I mean, clearly they were.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's Tom Brady. It's a completely different situation.
I know, but Aaron Rodgers, they don't have a quarterback. That team, there is no quarterback there. As much as I like Drew Lock, I think Drew Lock can be a decent quarterback in this league. They are a team that has they have offensive weapons. I mean, look at that offense, the way they could stretch the field.
They have a lot of young players, that offense.
Yes.
A lot.
And a very good young receiving core. You got KJ Hamler. You got Cortland Sutton, who's coming off an ACL. Mm-hmm. You have Melvin Gordon, who's still solid. They just drafted that running back, the kid out of North Carolina. Javonte Williams, who's probably going to be the starter, which we could get to that later.
But it's on my radar.
Okay. And then they have Noah Fant. That's impressive. And say you put Aaron Rodgers on that team, who already has a good defense and a defensive-minded coach in Vic Fangio. Listen, it's a tough division. Don't get me wrong. It's a tough division. But their situation reminds me a lot of Tampa Bay, where it's like, could they be that team this year that's a quarterback? I know I'm going on about this a lot, but I want to just say,
it's fine.
Vegas. Let's say he goes to Vegas, Joe. Vegas does not scream quarterback away situation for me. It just doesn't.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. So then when you look at Denver and put it into that perspective, Denver is, I think, far and away better than Vegas. Would we say that?
As pertain to pieces, yes, I do. I agree with you.
So
I do.
If you put Aaron Rodgers on that Denver team, I think you automatically become a perennial contender in the AFC. No matter what in the AFC, everything runs through Kansas City. We know this. But can you be that other team that could try to get over the hump? You know, because I think it's AFC. The AFC is Kansas City's to lose.
It's going to be for the next 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. So just much like it was for the Patriots for 20 years. So,
well, we're going to have time to find out. It's July 8th. There's still plenty of time. Training camp starts in a couple of weeks, I think. And then we got next month. A month from today, we should have at least one preseason playoff game.
That'd be nice.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be good to watch. I can't wait. I'm so excited for the season to start. I really am.
Me too.
So,
and fans in the arenas.
And fans, baby. I am ready. I am so ready.
Football is back.
Football is 100% back. So, John, we did let the fans, before we get to the good stuff, we did let the fans know that you did watch the first episode of The League.
I did.
I need some like instant reaction. What'd you think? Would you think it was funny? Did you enjoy it? Talk to me.
I thought it was fucking hilarious. It's funny that like somebody, like I said before, like somebody who's a fantasy football nut like me, like never watched that show.
I don't know how that's humanly possible.
And everyone's always told me like, oh, you have to watch League. You have to watch League because of the way that I act during fantasy football season. Like I am a manic maniac.
Manic maniac. Say that 10 times fast.
I said, oh my God, I don't think I can. And then I told Joe that I've described to people that I am insufferable during fantasy football season. So with that being said, I should be the one watching the League.
Well, John is going to give us weekly updates on his episodes of the League. He didn't even know that until I just said it, but each week we do the podcast. John's going to get 60 seconds to give us his episode recap of the episode that he just previously watched. And the reason I do that is so I could stay on John and make sure that he watches the next episode.
It's like homework.
Yes.
Perfect Spiral homework.
Absolutely.
Holy shit.
So what we got on tap for you today, folks, is we got training camp battles. We got star jumps. That's going to be a clip. But first, what we're going to talk about is potential cut candidates. And we're going to talk about some of those guys when we come back.
Hey y'all, Spencer Blinn, the producer for Perfect Spiral Podcast, and you're listening to my band Hollow Choir's new song, What You Want. Available now on Spotify. What you want?
All right, folks, and we're back here. And we're going to discuss now in our second segment here on Perfect Spiral Podcast potential cut candidates going into training camp.
Okay.
And John, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you a couple of list of names, and you tell me yay or nay if you think they legitimately have a chance to get cut this offseason.
Is N'Keal Harry one of them?
Oh, you know what? Let's bring up. I know you.
We'll bring that up later.
All right. So let's start. You know what? Let's start with N'Keal Harry.
You want to do N'Keal Harry?
Let's
quick?
do N'Keal Harry first. So
Okay.
N'Keal Harry, for all of you that don't know, his agent came out and formally requested a trade for the former first-round draft pick who's been riddled with injuries. And in the letter that John thought was absolutely accurate in every way, shape, and form, that the agent told, I guess, whoever he was talking to, the Patriots, the players, whoever, that N'Keal Harry is a vertical downfield threat who can't be stopped. And John is laughing because it's also reported today that the most that the Patriots are getting calls on N'Keal Harry is a conditional 6th-round pick, which seems a little bit more accurate to me. John, you have a lot to say. If N'Keal Harry was sitting here, what would you say to N'Keal Harry?
Well, first of all, before I totally dog N'Keal Harry, I just want to say, like, no matter what, no matter who you are, it's impressive when you get to the league. I mean, you do have to have a level of skill in order to get to the NFL. So with that being said, when the Patriots drafted N'Keal Harry, it was a horrible pick. I was not crazy about the pick. It was him and Sony Michel that year.
Oof.
I know, it's tough. N'Keal Harry's been an interesting player because he's one of those guys that has all the intangibles to be a fantastic receiver, but he just couldn't figure it out. And I feel like if you're the one requesting a trade out of New England, there's something wrong with you. Riddled by injuries, constantly hurt, constantly dropping balls, cannot run a route to save his life. And I mean, what do you think's going to happen when Cam Newton's your quarterback? And we're talking about a vertical downfield threat. He couldn't even get separation.
And not to mention all the wide receivers they signed this offseason, plus the 2 tight ends. He's going to have a really hard time catching the football.
Exactly.
And I think it's telling of how much success that Jacoby Myers had last year with Cam Newton and N'Keal Harry did not.
Mm-hmm. Nothing.
And Myers was an undrafted rookie. He came in, he worked hard, he got what he wanted. Now they got Nelson Aguilar there. They have a couple of other pieces there. They have Jonnu Smith. They have Hunter Henry. So let's further the conversation a little bit. N'Keal Harry wants out. Is this the guy that your famous Baltimore Ravens go after and get as a wide receiver?
If they didn't draft Rashad Bateman, I would say yes. But, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Eric DeCosta needs to do something because I've been on him for months now that he does not do enough for that team. If a conditional sixth, I mean, whatever, take a flyer on him. I mean, what's the hurt in throwing him a couple of deep balls and seeing what happens? While you were talking, I just wanted to pull up N'Keal Harry's numbers. So N'Keal Harry, last year he played in 14 games. He started 9. He had 57 targets for 33 receptions for 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was N'Keal Harry's stats that year.
Last year.
For
a 7-9 football team.
Yep. And in the 2019 draft when he was selected, he was taken 32nd overall. And some of the players taken, A.J. Brown was taken after him.
Oh, God.
Mecole Hardman was taken after him.
Mecole Hardman, the new number 2 receiver in the Kansas City organization.
Deontay Johnson was taken after him. DK Metcalf was taken after him.
DK?
Terry McLaurin was taken after him.
Wow. All right. We got the point here. Good Lord.
Yeah, so the Patriots botched that pick. I mean, it was no secret N'Keal Harry wasn't that great coming out of college. I mean, yeah, he was a really good downfield threat, but, I mean, come on, good Lord. Do better scouting.
Be better.
Yeah, but that's been the story of the Patriots drafting the last, 6-7 years?
Yeah.
So.
All right. We have a list. I have a list of 1, 2, 3. I have a list of 5 guys I'm going to name here.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm getting this from the ESPN article that came out a couple of days ago. And I think it's interesting. It's veteran players that have a chance to be cut.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm going to give you the first one. And I'm going to give you the description on why he would get cut. And then you kind of rebuttal and we'll go back and forth and banter a little bit. Sound good?
Go ahead.
Okay. First guy. Signed this offseason.
Okay.
Mark Ingram. Running back. Houston Texans. Now, the Texans currently have 4 running backs on their roster that could all come in and effectively play well. They got Mark Ingram, they got Rex Burkhead, who they just signed, they got David Johnson, and they got Phillip Lindsay.
Wow.
Okay? So none of those guys are really going to like wow you, but they're decent running backs. They're not bad.
Yeah, solid.
The Texans did restructure David Johnson's contract back in March, and they doubled his guaranteed money. Okay? So he's not going anywhere.
No.
And they're saying here, Ingram signed a 1-year deal, so he could be the guy that's out. What do you think about Mark Ingram possibly having a very, very short stay in Houston?
I think he gets cut.
Do you really?
I do think he gets cut.
I don't know. I mean, think about, they have 4 guys, right? They have Lindsay, they have Burkhead, they have Johnson, and they have Ingram, right? We just talked about why Johnson's not going to get cut, so take him out of the equation, right? You're not going to carry those 4 running backs when one of them's literally not going to be active on a week-to-week basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it could be either him or Rex Burkhead.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Burkhead because if you think about it, right, if you don't have a superstar running back, if you don't have a Dalvin Cook, if you don't have a I was going to say Adrian Peterson because we just watched the show. If you don't have a Derrick Henry, if you don't have an Aaron Jones, you're not going to... the next best thing that you could get is like a barrage of running backs who you kind of cycle in and out this way, because when you cycle in, like the Rams tried to do this with Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown, a couple other guys. And while Akers took the role in the beginning of towards the latter end of the season, when you took Akers out and brought in Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson, all these guys, they weren't like, they were clearly steps below.
100%.
They were clearly steps below. When you sub out Mark Ingram for David Johnson, or you sub out David Johnson for Phillip Lindsay, and I personally think that Lindsay may be the best pure runner of that group.
I agree.
But you're not really losing much. Burkhead has a specific skill set, I think. And because Ingram signed a 1-year deal, yes, could he essentially get cut and it doesn't affect them a lot? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think for a team that is bereft of talent, and when I say bereft of talent, assuming Watson doesn't play, which it looks like he's literally not going to at all, they have a very good chance to be the worst team in the league.
They could win 1 game this year.
They have a very, very good chance to be the worst team in the league. The only way you get through that year is if you have veteran presence in that locker room. They have a rookie head coach, right? If Watson doesn't come back, you're going to have a journeyman or a rookie quarterback taking the reins. You need guys who have been there, done that, and won before. And Ingram is one of those guys who, he's old. I mean, him and David Johnson together in the locker room, I think, would provide at least some stability during the losing.
Some support.
During the losing, because they are going to lose a lot. That's a fact. But I don't know. I think, does he have a chance? Yeah. If I had to put a percentage on it, I say 30-70 for me. No. Why do you think he is?
I think that what we saw out of Ingram last year was a guy that definitely didn't have a lot left in the tank. He's got a lot of mileage on him.
He does have a lot of mileage.
He does have a lot of mileage on him. I also think that David Johnson was another guy who, as much as he's going to be the starter, he's paid so much money that it's almost like you can't really do anything with him, even though I think that he has nothing left in the tank either. And I agree with you when you said that I think Lindsey is the best running back they have on their roster.
100%. I think I arguably thought he was better than Melvin Ingram last year, but
on Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, he was. I get it confused too.
Yeah.
He definitely was the best running back in Denver. Like, that wasn't even a question. Why they got rid of him?
He really wasn't healthy, and they committed to Gordon, so it makes sense.
That's true. And then drafting Javonte Williams, but it's just somebody I just don't feel like he has a lot left in the tank. I mean, if he's on the roster solely to not dress and collect a check and to be locker room stability, sure, but I don't see a lot left.
No, he's going to want an opportunity, I think, if he goes to play. He may not go to a good team, but I think he wants an opportunity. And going to Houston just tells me that there were no other offers out there.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go to Houston.
Nah.
He wanted to play in a contender, and no contender wanted him.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the situation.
That concerns me a little bit. So.
Yeah. So that's Mark Ingram. Next one, we're going to go to our own backyard, I think. This is an interesting one. Okay? We're going to go here to the red, white, and blue, the New York Giants. The guy I'm going to bring up to you is a guy who got a massive deal a couple of years ago and has not lived up to expectations. And that is Nate Solder, the offensive tackle. Ooh, that's a good one, right? Nate Solder opted out last year, and he hasn't played in 18 months since he's been in a full contact practice. Did not play well when he came to the Giants. Hasn't played well. He's 33 years old. And he's competing for a starting right tackle spot with Matt Pert.
Oof.
Telling you right now, if Nate Solder does not win the starting job, he's getting cut. That is 100% a fact. You are not paying a right tackle who is 33 years old double-figure money in base salary to sit on the bench. Not going to happen.
No
if
way.
he's not a lockdown starter, they might even cut him without even giving him the opportunity to fight for the job. When you're getting that money, you should not be fighting for a starting gig. You should be locked up as a starting lineman. I think out of all the guys that we have on this list that I'm going to talk about, I think this is the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. He struggled mightily since he's been in New York.
Oh, my God.
It's not even a question.
They tried him at left tackle. He sucked there. They moved him to right tackle, and then he got hurt, and then he opted out, so he hasn't played in 18 months.
You can't even kick him into guard.
And it's like, he's just been a disaster of a signing. And it was pretty lauded when he did sign with them, but he has been god awful.
Yeah, he's been terrible. He's one I'm gonna agree with you, Joe. I think he gets cut. I really do.
So we got Nate Solder there. Really not much to talk about if we're both agreeing with that. And then we're going to go to the NFC West because there's a couple of guys. There's a trio of teams I want to talk about. And the first one is in Arizona, and it's Jordan Hicks, the linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals. He's been one of the most productive and durable players, this is from ESPN article, in the past couple of years, playing the sixth most snaps and the sixth most tackles since 2019. So why would he get cut, you ask, right? Okay. They already announced that rookie Zaven Collins and rookie Isaiah Simmons as their starting inside linebackers already before the camp.
Timeout.
Yep.
Timeout. Isaiah Simmons is playing linebacker?
He is.
Give me a break.
Yep.
Give me a break.
Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins are that linebacker duo, and they got Chandler Jones on the outside of one of those roles as
Give
well.
me a break.
So, with them, there's a good chance that Jordan Hicks is not on this team's radar.
Isaiah Simmons isn't a linebacker.
Where would you rather play him?
I think he's a safety.
I think he's too small to be. I think he's too big to be a safety.
See, but this is sidebar. This is guys from the show.
Yeah.
This is the problem with players like that is where the fuck do you put him?
Swiss Army knife.
He's
yeah.
too small to be a linebacker.
There have been guys who have been small that played linebacker.
Like
before,
Mark
though.
Barron.
Like Telvin Smith. Quick. Very fast.
They
And
had him.
remember, Isaiah Simmons came on late last year.
He did come on late last year, and he did rush a lot from the outside.
There you go.
But I don't like him at linebacker at all.
Well, it's interesting. You don't like him at linebacker, and I thought, and we did this when we were doing our draft coverage. I said to you, if Zaven Collins was a down lineman edge rusher, he would have been the best edge rusher in the class. And Arizona thinks that they're putting him at linebacker, which I think is a mistake. Personally, I think he's better as a down lineman
I
than
agree.
outside edge rusher. So if we're saying that the two of those guys are playing out of position on an Arizona Cardinal defense, then I would almost argue that it would be a mistake to cut a guy like
I
Jordan
agree.
Hicks.
I agree with you.
100% would be a mistake to cut a guy like Jordan Hicks because you know where he's going to go? He's going to go to a team that needs a linebacker, that needs veteran leadership. And we just spoke about a team like the New York Giants who could use a guy like that. Like they got one last year in Blake Martinez. Can you imagine how much better their defense would be if they got a guy like Jordan Hicks?
Yeah. Or if this guy goes to New England, he's a star.
Probably.
He's a star.
Dallas is another team. They could use a ton. I mean, Sean Lee is. I don't know if Sean Lee's on the team, but he's not playing anymore.
He retired.
And Jalen Smith has been talked about as being a cut candidate as well. You don't know what you're getting at an LVE because of the injuries. So that team needs help on the defensive side desperately.
Yeah.
And guys who could stay healthy. You got a guy right here. I think it's a mistake if Arizona were to cut a guy like this. Guys get the 6th most tackles and played the 6th most snaps in 2 years' time. Why'd you get rid of a guy like that? You want to say mileage? Okay, I get you, but you need guys who are durable. It's a 17-game season now, John.
17 games.
It's a 17-game season. You're playing one less preseason game. You're playing one extra regular season game. Now you have 7 teams that make the playoffs, so there's an extra round of playoffs. It's a long season.
It is, and especially when you have a guy
who doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, and then you have 2 players, like you said, that are playing out of position.
What we think is out of position.
What we think is out of position, yes.
Because we think that they'd be more effective in secondary and on the defensive line.
Yes, exactly.
Jordan Hicks, third guy I'm going to talk about. 2 more left here. This one's interesting. And he is the highest paid player at his position. Okay? Johnny Hecker, the punter from the LA Rams. Now, we know Johnny Hecker as the punter who hits bombs.
He's the best punter in the league.
Hits bombs every time he punts the ball, right? Literally, they say that punter could change the outcome of a game based off the way he kicks the ball. And Johnny Hecker's done that for years. But let me read you here about Johnny Hecker. This is his 10th year. He's the highest paid punter, but he averaged a career low in net yards per punt last year at 45.6. The Rams did also bring in another punter for training camp. So, and I mean, obviously McVay said it's not really a big deal, but I think there's a chance that they could move on. If you have a punter who could do 3/4 of what Johnny Hecker could do, you're not paying Johnny Hecker that money. You're not paying.
Of course not.
You're not paying a punter that money. And you're really talking about punters on a podcast? Yeah, because punters could listen. We're a football podcast, 24/7, 365. We said it day one. I'm going to say it again here. Every position counts, and punter's one of those positions. And Johnny Hecker's been the best punter in the game for a long, long time. Think about how valuable guys like Harrison Butker are to the Kansas City Chiefs, and guys like Mason Crosby are to the Green Bay Packers. Staples at the position. Mm-hmm. Think about how long Steven Gostkowski was in New England for. Exactly. Adam Vinatieri.
Justin Tucker.
God, I forgot about Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker wins games on a weekly basis for the Baltimore Ravens.
He's automatic. He's an automatic 3 points. Automatic.
All I'm saying is, if he gets cut, and I think there's a 40% chance he may get cut, he will not stay on the open market for long.
Not at all.
Because he'll sign on the cheap right? Because he just wants to play. And he might go to a team that's a contender. I could see him going to a team like Tennessee or a team like... I mean, listen, anybody could use a punter. You could say any team in the league could use a punter.
Of course.
But punters, if you have your choice of where you want to play, punters don't want to punt in cold cities, and they don't want to punt in weather, and they don't want to punt in cities that have crazy weather conditions, right? So he'd rather go to a place with a dome, right? So you got a team like New Orleans, you get a team like maybe a team like Minnesota, or a team like Dallas, or a team like, I'm trying to think of other teams like Vegas, maybe, not that far. They got the beautiful new stadium. So, interesting tidbit there on Johnny Hecker. I do think he has an opportunity to get cut there in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Punters are very important. I mean, come playoff time, when you go 3 and out and you got to punt, you want to punt them back to the 1. Johnny Hecker is the guy that gets them that horrible starting field position. You're right. People don't understand just how important a punter could be, but come playoff time, punters are very important.
We've talked about 4. My son promised you 5. This one's less, and I know this one's going to be a little bit close to John's heart, but this one is a little bit one tough to talk about, and that is Seattle's Aldon Smith, who has a chance to get cut here in this training camp season. Aldon Smith had a 1-year minimum salary of $137,500 guaranteed, but that's not the problem. The problem is that he got into more legal trouble. And he, had a battery charge in Louisiana, has yet to be arraigned. Had an excused absence from mandatory minicamp because he didn't feel that he was in good enough shape to participate. So he's 0 for 2 so far. 31 years old.
Just came back to the league.
What are you thinking?
That's sad,
with all that information.
Aldon Smith, dude. I mean, we were talking about a guy first 3 years of his... Here's a guy. Here's me being Chris Collinsworth. We were talking about a guy the first 3 years of his career who was absolutely fucking electric.
Oh, my God. With San Francisco?
Automatic sack. He fucking had 20 sacks and like 19 sacks in back-to-back seasons. He was absolutely unbelievable, but then the, substance abuse problems. Dallas gave him a chance last year. He had 8 sacks.
Drugs.
More alcohol than anything else.
Drugs. There's still drugs.
Lay off the weed. That's to Josh Gordon. No, I
Maybe
think
he was partying with Josh.
Maybe. Josh is trying to get back into the league now.
Well, so yeah.
Every year. Oh, that sounded terrible. It's so mean. What else is new? Josh Gordon applied for reinstatement. Yeah, I think he gets cut, man. Listen, if you couldn't... he stayed good in Dallas last year. Jay Glazer helped him out. Jay Glazer's his boy. Maybe Jay Glazer could help him again, but I think this might be the end of the rope for Aldon Smith, truthfully.
I tend to agree with you.
I hate to say it, too, because it was nice to see him come back to the league.
It was nice to see him come back to the league. So here's what we got here. So we got Mark Ingram, no for me, yes for John. We got Nate Solder, both yeses. We got Jordan Hicks, both no's. Johnny Hecker, I'm going to give a no. What are you going to give, a yes or a no?
I'm going to give a no to Johnny Hecker, too.
And then we're both giving yeses to Aldon Smith.
Yep.
So we disagree on 1 as we go for 5. So we've covered the Seattle Seahawks, the Los Angeles Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, the New York Giants, and the Baltimore Ravens. The Houston Texans. Let us move on now to some training camp battles. And John, I wrote some down here that are interesting.
Hit me, Joe.
So these are we're gonna highlight the ones that people are talking about as well. So we're not gonna talk about every single one on this list. I'm gonna talk about the ones that matter, the ones people are talking about.
Okay. Is Trevor Lawrence battling for a starting job?
Get out. Get out. Come away with that garbage.
I'm just curious. Minshew was the start.
Stop. I love me some Minshew mania.
No,
and I'll tell you
more?
right
You're done
now,
with it?
He's going to be one of the best backups in the league.
Oh, he's going to be the next Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Which I'm cool with. I'll take it.
Just making sure that Trevor's a starter.
So let's start with the one team we did not talk about in the NFC West, and that's the San Francisco 49ers.
Whoa.
And they seem to have position battles on their offense at arguably the two most important positions, quarterback and running back. So let's start with the running back position. Let's move to the quarterback position, okay, shall we? Here are their list of running backs, okay? And if you're a fantasy football person, you will know all these names. Raheem Mostert is the presumptive starter, who's had a couple of good years in San Francisco. They also have Jeff Wilson Jr., who performed admirably while Mostert was hurt. Wayne Gallman is now on that team, and Wayne Gallman had a good season last year for the New York Giants. I don't know if anybody was paying attention.
Multiple good seasons when Saquon Barkley got hurt.
Very, very good flex spot for me for the majority of your fantasy league last year. JaMychal Hasty. Remember JaMychal Hasty had a couple of nice good games last year? He did. And then the running back out of Ohio State, Trey Sermon, is also on that roster. Third round pick in 2020. So you got 5 running backs. 5. All 5 are not making the team.
You think so?
No way. You do not carry 5 running backs when you need to carry offensive linemen because those guys get hurt more.
Is Jerick McKinnon still on that team? Or
No, I don't think he is.
Okay.
But you got 5 guys, right? So Mostert's going to make the team, obviously, right? Sermon's going to make the team. He's a third-round pick. He's obviously going to make the team. So let's argue that 2 of those 3 other running backs make it, Wilson, Gallman, and Hasty. Who's the guy that's out? And then out of those 4, who do you think wins the job, and why do you think who the guy wins the job?
So I think Hasty's out.
You think Hasty's out?
I think Hasty's out. I mean, he was on the outside looking in last year. Granted, really good player when he came in. I mean, there was a couple of teams that picked him up in fantasy. I mean, he was solid. I mean, there was a lot of people that were on him early because of the way that that team dealt with running backs
and injuries,
right? And injuries. I think that he is the odd man out on that situation, and I think the winner of the job ultimately, I do not think it's Raheem Mostert.
You don't?
I do not. I think it's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr.
Really?
Jeff Wilson Jr. was fantastic last year.
I disagree with a lot of what you just said. I think Wayne Gallman's the guy who's going to be the odd man out.
Interesting. Okay.
Because he's been a career backup. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you have so many other guys who could rotate in and out, there's no need for a career backup to be there, personally.
Fair enough.
And I think the starter is going to be Mostert. I do. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. has a chance of getting cut.
Really?
I do.
He was so good last year.
He is, but think about where they are. They got Mostert now, and they're definitely keeping Sermon, obviously.
That's true, and he was the third round pick.
So where is there room for Jeff Wilson Jr.?
I know.
Where is there room?
The concern is obviously Mostert's health.
Right, but that's why they drafted Sermon.
2 very different players, though.
They are. Sermon's not really a pass-catching running back. He's more... Jeff Wilson Jr. and Trey Sermon are 2 different running backs.
Yes.
Mostert and Trey Sermon are a little bit similar.
Yeah, both downhill.
Yeah.
Like, hit the hole kind of guys.
So you got Wilson starting. I have Mostert. I think it's interesting, yet I like they're on the same page that neither of us have Sermon starting. I don't think he's ready yet.
No way.
Do you think he gets playing time this year?
A little bit. I don't think he gets much.
You don't think he gets much? You think he's going to ride the bench most of the year?
For most of the year.
Interesting. Okay.
Unless I could see him coming in on like goal line situations.
Okay.
If he was to be the backup, because he is pretty big.
Yeah, it makes sense. So okay, now let's move on to the more interesting. Jimmy G and Trey Lance.
Okay.
Now everybody thinks that, including a lot of people, including myself, I don't really think there's a quarterback competition to begin with.
I don't either.
I don't. I think it's Garoppolo's job. I think he's on a 1-year deal there, and I think he's out after this year. I think if he plays poorly, Lance will come in. I think if they're out of contention, Lance will come in. I think they view themselves as a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
When healthy, yes.
This year. And if they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender, I think they're going to stick with Garoppolo.
Of course, he got them there.
Right. Now, I think it's a very, very, very similar situation that they had a couple years back with Smith and Colin Kaepernick, where they were very good with Alex Smith, but they almost knew that Alex Smith would not get them over the hump. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So they brought in Kaepernick because they knew he was the guy they needed. And I think there's like a very similar situation going on here. I truly believe they think that Trey Lance is that guy that gets them over the hump.
Yeah.
Right? Kyle Shanahan maybe looked at John Lynch and said, listen, I love Jimmy, but he's never going to get us to the promised land. We need a dual threat quarterback in today's NFL to be successful. And I think that's why they drafted Lance where they drafted him. But I don't think, unless he severely outplays, like I'm talking like Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson situation.
Oh my God.
Like if Jimmy G is lost in those preseason games and Trey Lance is lighting it up, then maybe. But outside of that, I don't foresee a scenario where he starts.
I agree, Joe. I'm with you because I think that it is Jimmy G's job to lose right now. I feel like it is going to be his job, at least on a 1-year deal, like you said. They are a legitimate contender once they're all healthy, right? I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he was the quarterback of that Super Bowl run. So it's kind of like, with all due respect, like, you have to kind of give Jimmy that option. But I will say this. The big thing with this team is health. Like we covered with the running back situation. I think that this team has a major health concern across the board. I could see Trey Lance coming in sooner rather than later. You know? I mean, we got to remember, Jimmy G's had quite a few concussions.
Yeah, he's had a lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries. I mean, we're talking leg, concussions, arm, leg. He's always hurt, you know? So I could see it. But listen, I think if he's healthy, it's his job for the year at least. I think, I mean, we spoke about this too. Trey Lance needs to sit.
Yeah, I definitely think Trey needs to sit. Well, that's going to cover San Francisco, and I promise you it's the last about to talk of the NFC West for the rest of the episode.
No more.
Let's travel to my neck of the woods.
Okay.
Because I think, as much as I love talking Jaguar football, I do think it's an interesting tidbit. And I have an answer for what I think it's going to be, but I'm curious to see what you think first. Obviously, James Robinson and Travis Etienne.
Wow, Joe, you really brought this up now?
I did. I think it's fascinating. I really do.
Is it really a battle, though? You know better than me. I mean, is it really a battle?
I want your opinion before I go into my rant.
Okay.
What do you think?
James Robinson's a starter.
So what's Etienne's role to you?
I think Etienne plays a lot of what Alvin Kamara was that 1 year when it was like thunder and lightning with Mark Ingram and Kamara. It was Ingram. Ingram was the bell cow. And then like Alvin Kamara came in on the passing downs, but then you kind of rode the hot hand as the game went on. And like sometimes it was both of them, sometimes it was one of them, but they both had this common understanding that it's like, we're going to ride the hot hand. I mean, just like you see it in Cleveland, you ride the hot hand. I mean, it's Nick Chubb's job. Kareem Hunt came in on very specific situations, but if Kareem Hunt was hot, Kareem Hunt was hot.
I'm so glad I let you go first because you brought up Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, and I think that's the perfect analogy for this tandem.
It is 100%.
I think it's there's a reason, folks. There is a reason that Travis Etienne was lining up exclusively in the wide receiver position in rookie minicamp with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay? They want him to feel comfortable lining up as a wide receiver because they're going to use him in passing downs with James Robinson in the backfield at the same time. It's going to happen. Get used to it. It is not a bad thing that Etienne was drafted in the back end of the first round of the NFL draft. It does not mean that James Robinson's job is in jeopardy. It does not mean he's going to get cut.
No way. It
does not mean he's going to get traded. He is an undrafted rookie who ran for over 1,000 yards last year on a 1-15 football team. If you think there's an inkling he's getting cut or is not the day one starter, you do not know football. You're done.
And you know what's funny, Joe? Not to cut you off on your rant, but when you did your when we did our draft coverage, what did you say about Etienne?
I said he's not a 3-down back.
He's not a 3-down back, but what else did you say about him? That he needed to work on his passing game. He needed to work on
and
catching
his blocking ability.
His blocking ability, and he needed to get better hands. And you know what's great about that coaching staff? And good on that coaching staff in Jacksonville for lining up in the slot, putting him in the slot in an uncomfortable situation so that he can learn how to play receiver. Because he's going to be asked to do that specific role. That's his role on that team.
I think him being paired with Trevor is a great thing because there's familiarity there.
Of course.
Like, he knows how Trevor throws the ball. He knows the speed Trevor throws the ball at. He knows Trevor's tendencies. He knows when he's going to pass, when he's going to throw, when he's going to run, when he's drop. He knows everything there is to know about Trevor, right? He knows how fast Trevor is, so he knows how much time he needs to give him if he needs to give him a block, you know? So I think that's fine. It's where I worry with him is I don't think he's a third down running back in the backfield. If there's a third down play and he's in the backfield, I don't know if I feel comfortable there. Not yet. Of
course.
And I remember in the draft coverage, I had him as my third rated running back behind Najee Harris and Javonte Williams. And I still believe that. Now, Harris was taken ahead of him. Javonte was taken behind him in the second round, and that's fine. They all went in the same area, right? I think they were in within 15 picks of each other. They all went, which is not a problem. But ETN is going to need a year or two to be a 3-down back in this league. He's not a 3-down back yet, and I do not think the Jaguars are going to ask him to be a 3-down back right now.
Absolutely not.
No
They're
way.
not going to.
So I think it's Robinson's job all the way. I totally agree with you. All right, let's take the plane over to Denver.
Okay.
Where we have a similar situation with the San Francisco 49ers. We have quarterback and running back jobs there.
Wait, you said San Francisco.
Yeah, now I said very similar to San Francisco.
Oh, similar to okay.
Because we got Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon
Okay.
battling for the running back position, and I have a lot of hot takes there.
I do too.
And then we also have the Drew Lock versus Teddy Bridgewater quarterback battle there in Denver.
Okay.
Which is, I think, also very interesting.
Very interesting.
So let's start with the running back. I do not think Melvin Gordon's a starting running back in this league anymore.
Joe, thank you. I 100% agree with you.
To me, I saw enough of what I needed to see last year.
Train wreck.
Where I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this dude. I hated him for as long as he's been in the league. I think it was ridiculous that he sat out and he just watched Austin Eckler completely take his job away. And then when he came back, the Chargers felt like they needed to force feed him, and he sucked.
He was terrible.
And then he got shipped out of L.A. and went to Denver, and he was not good either last year. Javonte Williams is going to be a good player.
He's going to be a star.
He's going to be a good player. I don't know if he's going to be a star. I don't know if I agree with you there. But he's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player. He's going to be a nice complementary piece. They may ask him to do a lot this year because of that quarterback situation, which I think is the lesser of two evils, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like Williams. If there truly is a running back battle, I truly think that Javonte Williams comes out on top. I think he will show that much that Gordon will not only get pushed to the side, I think Gordon may get cut.
Joe, I 185% agree with you. Gordon couldn't hold on to the football last year. Gordon was an absolute train wreck of a player. Not to mention the legal troubles with him, too. Javonte Williams was an excellent pick by that team. He was underrated going into this draft.
He was. I thought, when I watched the film on him, I was like, oh my God. He reminds me of Nick Chubb.
Yes, he arguably, I mean, like you said, you had him too. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, them getting him in the second round, I mean, that's just great scouting by Denver. And knowing you have a situation at running back, because Melvin Gordon, I mean, time's up.
It's funny you talk about scouting because while they may have scouted the running backs well, Denver has not scouted a quarterback good for what seems about 15 to 20 years now.
Yeah, John Elway has no idea.
So what are we doing here at the quarterback position? What are we giving Drew Lock another shot, or are we going to Teddy B?
Without hesitation, it's Teddy Bridgewater's job.
Whoa!
Without hesitation.
Wow, you think so?
So, like you said, it's kind of the lesser of two evils, right? Neither one of them is going to really get you. I mean, all respect to Teddy B. I mean, Minnesota Vikings legend, Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Two Gloves. It's really the lesser of two evils in that situation because Drew Lock, while showed flashes that he could be a decent quarterback, turned the ball over a lot last year. Ad nauseum. Almost like he regressed a little bit. Teddy is more of that conservative. He plays very conservative.
Can I cut in really quick?
Go ahead.
You talked about how he turned the ball over a lot in year 2. Drew Lock. So did Josh Allen.
So is this one of those guys? No, serious. Is this one of those guys that you're thinking takes that leap?
I'm not.
I thought that's what you were gonna say.
I'm not. But I think to someone that you drafted in the second round, you know what Teddy Bridgewater is. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. So you know what you're getting out of Teddy. And if you're really rolling into the year with Teddy Bridgewater, you're not a legitimate Super Bowl threat anyway.
No.
So why are you putting a guy out there who you know what you're going to get from him? Are you putting him out there simply to trade him, to get something out of it? Why? Roll with Locke. See if he's got anything left, right? If this is his third year. If he's got nothing. Remember, he was hurt last year, too, for a good portion of the season.
A lot of the year, yeah.
Right? So if he's got anything, he's got to show it this year. If he's not going to show it this year, they're going to move on. But give him the opportunity. Like we said, look at what happened when you gave Josh Allen that third year. A lot of Buffalo Bills fans wanted to get rid of Josh Allen. Okay? They didn't like you turn the ball over. You know, this is a telling year for Daniel Jones too. I know we're not talking about the Giants, but it's the same deal. Right? You got to give these guys. We're forgetting that these kids are 21 years old, 20 years old. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Baker. He had a good rookie year. He had a miserable sophomore campaign. Right? And we were all like, the Browns, it's Baker Mayfield. They suck. He comes back year 3. They go to the playoffs, go to the division round. Are a first down away from going to the AFC title game.
I know.
Give the kid a shot. I'm not saying he's going to be good. I am not. Let me be clear. I think Drew Lock is a very mediocre quarterback.
Very mediocre.
I don't think here you got anything there. I don't see the raw talent that I see in Josh Allen that I see in Drew Lock.
At this point.
I don't see it, right? Daniel Jones has more ability to me than Drew Lock has. I've seen throws, and that's the most important thing about Drew Lock. I've seen throws that Daniel Jones make that I say, wow, that's a top 10 quarterback throw. Like he makes a couple of good reads, right? And I'm like, wow, that's a really good decision. And then he makes some bonehead decisions, right? Like very similar to like a Jameis Winston type.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those plays from Drew Lock. I haven't seen one. I saw more from Minshew in his first year than I saw from Drew Lock.
Well, Minshew was fantastic in his rookie year. But it's not, Joe, it's not like they're devoid of talent.
No, but we were talking about them before, and they're a quarterback away. And I think you owe it to the organization to at least give him at the start of the year the opportunity to at least try. If he really sucks, then you could go to Teddy because you know what Teddy is.
Yeah. Is that the last of your battles?
I have a couple more.
Okay, because I had one in my head that I was thinking of.
Okay. So
I don't know if you have it on your paper. That's why I'm not.
I don't know. Let's go through. I have 3 more listed here.
Okay.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go to Cleveland.
Okay.
Actually, we're gonna go on the defense side of the football. I like this one. This is an interesting one. Cornerback. So Denzel Ward's the number 1 corner.
Okay.
Undisputed. There's a cornerback 2 battle here between Greedy Williams and first-round draft pick Greg Newsome II out of Northwestern.
Whoa. You really just pulled that out.
I did.
Wasn't Greedy hurt all last year?
Greedy was hurt, but he was also a very, very top prospect who fell and was drafted a couple of years ago, and now Greg Newsome's coming to take his job.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I think it's Newsome's job to lose.
Yes, I agree.
Because he was the first-round draft pick.
Yeah. I mean, you can never have too many corners, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, cornerback depth is a big deal in this league. I mean, Greedy out of LSU, he was very good, highly touted prospect, definitely had some coverage issues.
100%.
Definitely had some coverage issues. And being hurt, missing your rookie year definitely does not help you grow as a player. So, like you said, I agree with you. I think Greg Newsome slots right in, and then we see what happens from there.
Let me ask you another question. Mm-hmm. Does he move to safety?
Greedy?
Yeah.
Didn't they just sign, what's his name? From the Rams?
Yes, Josh Johnson.
They signed Josh Johnson.
And they got Grant Delpit coming back.
No, he doesn't slide to safety.
No. Does he go to slot corner? Or is he too big or too slow?
I remember Greedy being kind of small.
Does he get cut?
Nah, you're not going to cut him.
No. So you think he's just going to lose the job?
I think he's just going to lose the job, and I think that, I mean, you see with... Listen, timeout. Denzel Ward hasn't been able to stay healthy in 2 seasons.
He's been pretty healthy.
He missed most of the year last year.
No, he didn't. You're a liar.
I'm dead serious. He was a Pro Bowler his first year, and then after that, he struggled.
I'm calling you out right now.
Okay. Calling me out live on the pod. I think he played like 7 games last year.
Let me see. Denzel Ward. Oh, he played 12 games.
12.
Yeah, so you missed a month of the year.
He missed a month of the year. I mean,
okay.
And it wasn't like a small injury
Fair.
either. It was like an ankle injury.
Fair.
So
I'll give you that. Yeah, he was in 12. He played 12 games in each of his first 3 seasons, so he's missed. Okay. All right, I'll give you that.
He's missed 12 games.
He hasn't played a full season yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't played a full year. Okay, fair enough.
Does it hurt to have cornerback depth?
No, it does not.
In that situation?
Absolutely does not.
And especially on a team where they could be, dare I say a hot take, one of the best defenses in football.
I don't think it's... Myles Garrett is the second best defensive lineman in football, I think.
And they had a clown.
Behind Aaron Donald.
you know my feelings on Clowney, but Clowney does best when he has another guy, and he has another guy.
Signed Clowney.
They did sign Clowney, and then they drafted fucking Joke.
Oh my God, it's right. Yes, Joke. All right, cool. I like that one. All right, let us go to Miami.
Ooh.
Miles Gaskin, Salvon Ahmed, or Malcolm Brown?
Whoa, this is a good one. Joe, that's a really good one. Miles
Salvon
Gaskin.
Ahmed was good last year in limited role.
He was. Miles Gaskin's job to lose. Miles Gaskin was unbelievable last year. Not to mention he was such a fucking fantasy stud.
He was very, very good. I thought that was interesting because Ahmed was really good for the limited time he was there. He was. But I agree. I think Miles Gaskin. I just wanted to bring that one up.
I will say, though, real quick.
Yeah.
While I do like Miles Gaskin in that role, I think that's one of the positions on that team that is lacking. I don't think that either one of those guys is a true number 1 3-down back. So
okay, fair enough. Last one I got for you.
Hit me.
Arizona Cardinals, wide receiver 2.
Whoa.
Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, rookie out of Purdue.
Okay.
AJ Green, or
All
Andy
right.
Isabella.
Okay, AJ Green should be cut.
Oh, God, that's brutal.
He's bad, man. He's bad last year. They seem to think that he's going to be the piece that wins in the Super Bowl.
So Christian Kirk or Rondale Moore?
Okay, I'm going to give you my thing first, but I just have to say that I love the memes about the Cardinals where it's like, if you weren't with us at 7-8-1, don't be with us at 8-8. It's hilarious. I don't know. Even though it's 17 games this year, that meme is hilarious. And then it's like a picture of like J.J. Watt and A.J. Green and like Kyler Murray. It's like, yeah, you got two players that are like were sick in 2013, and now it's 2021. Anyways.
Jesus Christ.
Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk. Andy Isabella's not bad, but Andy Isabella plays well when he comes in like at random times.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk is always hurt. He's another one. But when he plays, he can light it up.
When he plays, he's good.
He's really good when he plays. Awesome downfield threat. He had a couple of catches last year.
He's like one of those sneaky fantasy flex guys that you plug in every now and then and he like fucking kills it.
Yeah, and it's like
he goes for like 3 touchdowns and it's like, what? Christian Kirk?
The person you're like playing against wants to bash their head through a wall because it's like you're
There's
that
no way that Christian Kirk is beating me, and he does.
No, he's that guy also in DraftKings and the DFS lineups. It's like 0.2% of people started him and he puts up 45 points and he wins you like $90 million. I mean, with that being said, Christian Kirk, he's gonna lose.
Rondale Moore in the slot. AJ Green playing the role of Bobby Boucher in The Water Boy.
He's so bad. Does he even have a foot anymore?
Oh my God. That's fucked up, man. It's AJ Green, bro. Come on.
Yeah, he was sick in 2014. Remember when the Bengals made the playoffs with AJ Green and Andy Dalton? It was like, hell yeah.
They made the playoffs like 5 years in a row. With
They
those
did,
guys.
and then their coach was just awful.
Marvin Lewis,
Ugh.
the mute.
Jesus Christ.
All right, did I give you any of the ones that you had or no?
No, I had one more.
Okay.
Cam Newton and Mac Jones.
So I had this listed down, and I crossed it out because I didn't think it was that much of a battle.
Really?
I don't think Mac Jones even sniffs the field.
Not at all this year.
If Cam is what Cam was last year, it doesn't sniff the field.
Cam looked like he was in rare form in like early preseason workouts. He was throwing noodle balls already.
Was he really?
He threw one ball that was like rough.
He was throwing noodle balls already.
I mean, you already know Cam's gonna post that video.
I'll be clear here. Cam Newton is not a starting quarterback in the NFL anymore.
You know,
he's not.
He's just not.
But I just don't think that Bill's going to get... I don't think Bill is willingly going... I don't think Cam Newton would sign with the Pats just to have his reputation absolutely gutted by Mac Jones. And Bill come out and be like, we're starting Mac Jones in week 1. So we're starting Mac, and we have all the faith in the world in him. And, Cam's going to be a great teammate. So, yeah.
Great Bill impression.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I think Cam's gonna start week 1, and if he really sucks in the first couple of weeks, they're gonna go to Mac.
I guess we'll know by what kind of outfits he's wearing, how he's feeling about the starting job.
Oh my God. I mean, I really don't think it's that much for you. Unless Mac Jones absolutely lights it up in preseason.
Week 5 in Houston, Mac Jones is coming in. I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
You're going to want to start your rookie quarterback against a shit team after Cam's thrown 14 interceptions in 4 games.
And the Patriots are 0-4.
Patriots are 0-4. You need a jolt. Cam's just not giving it to you. You know, he had like 14 touchdowns last year rushing.
Yeah, because he ran them like every down on the goal line.
He was a fantasy starter for some fucking bizarre reason.
Ridiculous. Well, folks, that is our training camp battles. Hope you enjoyed that session. We're going to take a small, quick break, and when we come back, we're going to end on a couple of guys who we think are going to take star jumps from the last year to this year. We'll be right back. And all right, guys, we're back here for segment number 3 of episode 20 of the Perfect Spiral podcast. And to end our show, we are going to go and talk about a couple of guys who we think are going to take a major, major leap from last year to this year. John, there's a guy you talked to me about in the car, and I wasn't going to do this segment until you spoke to me about him because I'm very intrigued to see what you have to say about why. Because I feel like you're in the minority here about this guy taking the leap he's going to take. Can you please tell us who you think is going to take a leap from average player to star player?
Tua Tagovailoa.
I don't get that, but please, I'm here for it.
Okay. Miami was a very good team last year. Brian Flores is arguably, I'd say, one of the best coaches in the league. They had a chance this year, and I think we both agreed, or I don't know if you agreed with me, disagreed. I know we definitely thought about it. Could they take a quarterback? Could they be in the market? Tua looked absolutely miserable last year. He was tough to watch at times, Joe.
I know, he was really bad.
Because
I'll never forget the game they took him out for Fitzpatrick against the Raiders.
Oh my God, it was
I won't
so
forget
bad.
it.
Because Tua's issue was that Tua doesn't understand, and I'm hoping this is something he worked on, which is why I'm saying I think he makes this leap. Tua didn't understand NFL throw windows, like even in the slightest. He needed guys to be Alabama open, and guys were NFL open, and he couldn't make the throw, right? You brought in Jalen Waddle. I think they have a very decent team there. I think he also was coming off of a hip surgery. I think it would have been beneficial to him to sit last year. I really do. I think it would have been beneficial to sit the whole season. I think that playing with a guy's psyche like that, where it's like, all right, you're starting. Wait, but hold on a second. We're going to pull you out of your start, and we're putting in Fitzpatrick because we need to put in the pinch hitter. I think that's a very weird thing for a young quarterback, right? Because it takes you out of your groove, essentially. Like, he wasn't really grooving, I would say, but
He wasn't grooving
per se. But I think that these are a lot of these situations. You need your quarterback to understand all the different dynamics of the league. You need him to understand losing when he has a bad game, when he has a good game. If you're still winning games and your quarterback has a bad game, that's a problem, especially for a young quarterback. So I think now it's his job. They've made it apparent. They went and got him help. His favorite receiver, who, not crazy about the pick, but his favorite receiver out of Alabama.
Waddle,
who is not always going to be Alabama open.
No.
And I think Tua, over a year and a half removed from the hip surgery, no Ryan Fitzpatrick, got him his receiver. I think from the front office perspective and the coaching perspective, we're saying, Tua, here's the keys to the castle. We're giving you weapons. Make it happen. And I think he makes that leap this year. That's why I'm very, as much as I didn't like Tua, I mean, I still long term don't like him, but I think from year to year, I think he makes a solid leap.
Okay. I have a couple of guys I want to talk about. Could talk about 3, but maybe I'll talk about 3. We'll see how time allows. My first one is far and away, I think, a guy who's going to enter the conversation by year end as a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. Top 5.
Top 5.
Okay? He's got all the abilities. He's got the necessary tools. He was sneaky good last year, and not enough people talked about him. And you know who he is.
Hit me.
Cameron Dantzler.
Yes.
If anyone doesn't know who Cameron Dantzler is, he's the cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings. And before, folks, hand over heart, John is my witness. Before the 2020 he was a rookie this past year.
He was a rookie this past year. Yep.
I don't know if you remember when we were doing. I said that Cameron Dantzler was going to be a damn good cornerback, and he was electric. He's got great size. He's got good speed. He's got awesome hands, and he could tackle. He is going to be the new Xavier Rhodes for your Minnesota Vikings defense.
That'd be fantastic.
He is going to be I'm telling you, I'm going on my high horse. He is going to be a shut-down corner for the Minnesota Vikings next year.
He came on very late last year.
And he's going to have a coming-out party when they play the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night or Monday Night Football, whatever it is, and he's going to shut down Davante Adams. Book it. You take that to the bank. Okay. Cameron Dantzler is going to be a stud.
Your mouth to God's ears, Joe.
Stud.
He was very good last year.
Another guy I'm going to talk about, he's finally getting his chance to sign. I think he's going to be a top 3 fantasy tight end this year, and I think he's a breakout player.
Whoa.
Dallas Goedert.
I agree. I very much agree with you.
Dallas Goedert, Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's going to be a humongous security blanket for Jalen Hurts. And I say top 3 fantasy tight end. I think he's going to be above. I think he's going to fall below Travis Kelce, and I think he's going to fall below George Kittle. I do think he will have a better fantasy season than Darren Waller.
Wow, that is big, Joe. That is big. Waller was unbelievable.
Waller's been great.
Who was tight end 1 last year?
I think it was Waller or Kelce.
Waller or Kelce, right? It was one of the two.
You know who drafted both in fantasy last year?
You know who had both in the championship game? Your boy.
Well, it's because my whole roster got hurt last year, so let's not talk about that.
Stop! You always say that.
Look at my roster from week 1 and then tell me not. That's the truth.
I had 3 of your players.
Okay? Don't come at me with that garbage. My last player
Joe's like, fuck you.
is Javon Kinlaw, the defensive tackle from the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to take another leap right now. Javon Kinlaw is your next Aaron Donald.
Whoa. Joe doesn't typically drop hot takes. I'm very much a hot take guy, and that was a hot one.
Javon Kinlaw, when healthy, is a brick wall. He reminds me of like Albert Hainsworth.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He reminds me of prime Albert Hainsworth. I thought he was a really good prospect coming out of college. Battled a little bit of minor injuries last year. Fell a little bit. I thought he had a chance of going to Jacksonville in the top 10 last year, but he didn't. He is going to be a stud. And I think the reason that the 49ers were so confident about getting rid of DeForest Buckner last year is because they have Javon Kinlaw now. Yeah. And they think Kinlaw could be even better than Buckner. Those are my breakout players.
Wow.
2 on the defensive side, 1 on the offensive side. If you're paying attention, we got Tua Tagovailoa, Cameron Dantzler, Dallas Goedert, and Javon Kinlaw. So we literally got every level of the offensive defense pretty much going on for you. Johnny?
Episode 20 in the books, huh?
It is 8:54 p.m. on a Thursday night. The NBA Finals are starting in about 10 minutes. So make sure you get your fill of Bucks Suns Game 2. I am predicting a Milwaukee Bucks 113-106 victory tonight behind a Chris Middleton 35-point performance. If that even comes close, we're having a party next week.
Joe, the Suns are going to 4-1 this finals.
You think so?
I mean, I think they could sweep, honestly. If they
I got Bucks
wanted
in
to.
6.
Please.
They're the more complete team. When everybody's healthy, they're the better team. They defend better. And the Bucks are historically bad at game 1s.
Are we?
They lost game 1 to the Suns. They lost game 1 to the Nets. And they almost lost game 1 to the Heat.
Game 2's in Phoenix, no?
It is.
I just think that backcourt is too much.
Drew Holiday's really good at defending.
I mean, he didn't really defend anybody last game, though.
He didn't have to. They got spanked.
Can we talk about how DeAndre Ayton looks like he's 58 years old?
He looks like he's Shaquille O'Neal right now, so that's another thing. I don't want to. Let's not get into this right now, okay? We're not an NBA podcast. We'll leave that to our NBA podcast friends.
It's like Shaquille O'Neal. He put up a 20 and 20.
Yeah. So next week is episode number 21. We are going to go back to the Legend Series. We will do defensive linemen. So any Aaron Donald fan, Reggie White fans, you are in for a good treat next week. Warren Sapp, maybe? Anybody?
Maybe.
I don't know. But we will come back to you next week. John, any words before we leave tonight?
No, I'm good, man.
You're all good, brother? All right, folks. Well, make sure that you subscribe, review, listen, dance, whatever you got to do. Sing it. I don't care what you do. Just make sure you follow Perfect Spiral anywhere you can. And be sure to hit us up with your questions and feedback and anything you want on our Twitter account. For John McCarthy, my name is Joe Miglio. 20th episode of Perfect Spiral. Out.